Good morning out there, traders. It is March 28th, 2024, and welcome to the Apteros Daily Market Insight. Let's dive into our recap. So yesterday we had a pretty great DMI, really nailed most of the market movement for the session. We had the early morning sell-off here from our bearish line in the sand, taking a look at our scenarios. Scenario 1 being a hold of that zone. We end up seeing that go right down into our first target in this zone. And then, of course, I'd mentioned that this neutral area was really important for continuation to the downside. If we didn't end up seeing the market hold distinctly underneath that neutral area, chances were we were going to rotate back up and possibly continue up into this next area here. And that's exactly what we ended up seeing. So it wasn't necessarily as straightforward as, oh, well, there's a lot of pullbacks and so forth. Here was an obvious short based on our line in the sand and our prep coming into our first target. From there, it was really about stabilization here, waiting to see what was going on in this neutral area. We didn't really end up seeing a full breakdown of this zone, but if you were sticking with scenario 1, maybe some chances in here that just didn't quite get all the way through, and then things kind of shifted back up into here. And once you got this information, there was really no more scenario 1 on the table because we were seeing this neutral area hold as exactly what we were talking about in the DMI. Then we end up seeing a pullback here with a really nice bullish inflection into this zone back into this main line in the sand for the session, and we blast right through it. We don't really get a chance in terms of getting a pullback to get on board on this time frame. So that's just the way it went. It just came up right through it and then headed straight to our target, straight to our second target, and then has started to stabilize right at our neutral area here coming into the overnight. So one of those situations where we really nail the market movement. The opportunities, were definitely there in the early session, and then, of course, they started to stabilize here. A bullish inflection here. If you were paying attention to the DMI and understood what was happening in this area, this is an opportunity as well to get on board with those bulls. But it just didn't end up giving us an opportunity at our line in the sand after it really started to rally here. So that's just kind of the breakdown of what happened yesterday. Really good, solid DMI. Let's take a look at what's going on today. Okay, so that move yesterday has shifted some of our bullish timeframes around here, and we are out at extremes at a lot of cases on some timeframes. So at this point, we have bullish ideas from our lower timeframes that we're going to pay attention to for today's session, and this is going to be our main line in the sand for the session. Scenario 1 being bullish up above this zone. So obviously, if we hold here heading up into this is the first target. If we break this down, really nothing to do in terms of getting short or anything like that, just kind of waiting to get down into this bullish area here, and then we'll be monitoring for scenario 1. Scenario 1's, smaller target is right here. If we get up above that, this is the main target for scenario 1 right here. If we get to this level, this neutral area here, that's really where we can look for inflections and so forth for any type of really bullish day. If we get up above this neutral area, this is the little bit more of a stretch target based on the immediate here and now that we have in the ES. So this is kind of the end of the line for scenario 1 in terms of a normal kind of bullish day, with our main target being just below that, obviously, at this blue neutral area. So that's the outlay of scenario 1 in a normal circumstance. If we get an extremely bullish day and something wild is happening, we do have a stretch target up above here at 53, 54s. Just mentioning that here in the case that something gets a little out of hand today. If we start seeing a breakdown of this line in the sand, we have really good short-term information to get on board with some shorts. So if this market, pulls all the way back, breaks down below this area here, and we start seeing the downside taking place, this is our main target for that. And that would be really the bulk of what we're looking for out of the downside of this market. Being short in a very bullish, indice, it's tricky, but we have been able to obviously do it like we were yesterday. But we have to keep those expectations extremely limited in terms of the downside, unless things are truly unraveling for some fundamental reason. But right now, what we're seeing, if we get short opportunity, you have to take advantage of it quickly, get into your target areas, and then kind of wait and see what's going on before you look for any type of continuation. So that's the situation that we have here in scenario 2 if we end up seeing the downside. We have a target that makes sense to the downside on our shorter time frames, and then from there we start running into some higher time frame bullishness that we'll have to be mindful of. And that's really the downside scope that we have here for scenario 2, really into this main neutral area, and from there underneath it's pretty much bullish and we'll have to pay attention to that. And of course, if we get an extremely short day for whatever reason, we have to get underneath this particular bull area to see any type of continuation of the downside, where we start running into some neutral references down in the 32, 38s. All right, so that's the full layout and landscape of what we're having, planned for in our DMI for today. Trade well out there, mind your risk, and let's have a great trading day.